Hello, today we are going to discuss homeostasis. But first, a recap from previous content. So, everything that makes an organism function and appear in a certain way can be related back to the work of proteins. Proteins are created by ribosomes. Sometimes ribosomes are assisted by the rough endoplasmic reticulum or smooth endoplasmic reticulum, but essentially proteins are created by ribosomes. Ribosomes have red strands of RNA that are developed from DNA. If everything that makes an organism function and appear in a certain way can be related back to the work of proteins, and proteins are originally determined by DNA, this means that DNA determines how everything in an organism functions and appears. Definition of homeostasis. It is the tendency toward a relatively stable equilibrium between interdependent elements, especially as maintained by physiological processes. Essentially, what homeostasis is an organism being able to maintain stability or normality. If there was not homeostasis, organisms would be very unstable. To look into some examples about homeostasis, we're going to learn a little bit about hormones. So what is a hormone? It is a regulatory substance produced in an organism and transported in tissue fluids such as blood or sap to stimulate specific cells or tissues into action. Some hormones can be synthetically made, so that's why it says below a synthetic substance with an effect similar to that hormone. A lot of hormones are proteins. Not all of them, but a vast majority of hormones are proteins. So that's going to come up later. So some examples of well-known hormones. There's a whole lot of them, but some of the more well-known ones are cortisol, adrenaline, human growth hormone, or HGH, estrogen, testosterone, glucagon, and insulin. We're going to talk about some of those today. The study of hormones is known as endocrinology, or the study of the endocrine system. So, when there is an improper amount of a hormone in an organism, the organism becomes irregular and possesses functional problems. The picture on the right is a photo of the world's tallest person next to the world's shortest person. This is all about the human growth hormone, or HGH. So essentially, the person on the left had way too much human growth hormone, while the person on the right had not enough human growth hormone. The world's tallest person there was walking with a cane. His nerve endings in his body essentially did not keep up with the speed of growth of the rest of his body, so he doesn't have a lot of feeling in some part of his legs and his hands, essentially. As for the world's smallest person, being that compact, there's a lot of reduced flexibility and mobility that happens there. So really important to have homeostasis be working correctly so that everything is nice and stable. Another common instance of homeostasis gone awry is diabetes. So diabetes is all about two hormones. Glucagon, which is a hormone that raises blood sugar levels, so the amount of sugar or food in your blood. And then there is insulin, which lowers your blood sugar levels. Okay? If you have diabetes, that means that you are not producing enough insulin to lower your blood sugar. Okay? And you've probably heard that there are two types of diabetes. So type 1 is genetically a problem. You cannot prevent it, okay, because it's genetic. So essentially with type 1 diabetes, the body just does not produce insulin. Okay? It does not produce the hormone that can lower blood sugar levels. So whenever you eat something, that blood sugar level cannot be lowered. Type 2 diabetes, on the other hand, is essentially when the body eats so much food, so its blood glucose levels keep going up and up. It's producing insulin, but it's essentially not producing enough insulin to keep up with the demand that it is providing. So it can't keep up with the high amounts of high blood or high sugar in the blood, and essentially your cells can go numb to insulin as well. So it's just your insulin is not being used efficiently, as it says there. Okay. Now, while really glucagon and insulin, they're all about one thing, like the amount of sugar in your blood, it still affects several other parts of your body, and sometimes it varies from person to person what they experience. So while it's possible for a person to experience all the symptoms presented there, it's not likely. They'll probably experience some, but not all. But yeah, very significant problems in more than just high blood sugar. So the question is, how does an organism know how to have the proper amount of a hormone? I'm actually going to relate this back to when we discussed food webs in a previous video. Okay? So I want us to look at this food web, and I want us to think of each of the organisms as a different part of the body. And all of the arrows are like different hormones or different signals sent back, right? If there's not enough rabbit, that's going to be signaling to the wildcat and the jackal that they're going to be reduced or lowered in population because it doesn't have enough rabbit to maintain itself. Yeah, same thing for if the rabbit is eating the green plants. So say there are too many rabbits now, for example, eating the green plants. That means eventually there would not be enough green plants to support the rabbit, so the rabbit's population would go down as well. So how that happens in a food web in the total environment, that is essentially the same thing that is going on inside your cells, inside your body, inside your organs. All this can even happen at the cellular level. So here is the homeostasis loop, as it's called, of blood sugar, and it happens with the liver and the pancreas. Okay? So looking at the top, so say whenever you eat something, your blood sugar level increases, then that is signaled to the pancreas, hey, blood sugar levels increase, now we got to send a signal to the liver, and that signal is the hormone insulin saying, hey, we have to lower blood sugar levels, and then the liver actually lowers the blood sugar levels back to normal. So again, just how we learned about carrying capacity with food webs, and how that raises and lowers back to some kind of stability. That same raising and lowering, that carrying capacity concept, that is homeostasis happening within you. Let's look at that bottom loop of blood sugar. So if blood sugar is too low, that is also signaled to the pancreas to secrete the hormone glucagon, which would then raise your blood sugar levels back to normal. So again, it's all about balance. And what we call those arrows that signaling, we call those feedback mechanisms. Okay? So feedback mechanisms of homeostasis are signaled by cells receiving signaling proteins. Signaling and receptor proteins notify cells of certain hormone levels, which will indicate to cells to start or stop producing a certain hormone. A section of DNA is then read to make RNA, which is then sent to a ribosome where another signaling protein or hormone is made. So proteins, not only do they actually know they can be hormones or could speed up reactions or make things happen, they also are a means of communication of when cells need to do certain things, when other proteins need to be made, not made. Again, protein's super important and are a critical part of homeostasis and feedback mechanisms. So hormones was just a good stepping off point to learn about homeostasis. But besides hormone balance, homeostasis also maintains internal temperature, pH balance, which is all about the balance of acids and bases, fluid volume, and pressure. So that can be like physical pressure or blood pressure as well. Thank you for watching. Please share and subscribe, and remember to spread kindness.